Hello, my sober lovelies. Before we dive in, I'm really excited to announce my group coaching program for women is live, and you can join now. So excited for this because let's be real here. Quitting drinking isn't just about saying no to the glass of wine or booze. It's about what comes after. All the fear, the boredom, the late night anxiety, and the stories you've been telling yourself for years. And that's where my Rewired Sober group coaching program for women comes in. It's only $247. I'm being totally transparent on the price. It's for 3 months, and you'll learn how to shift your mindset, build habits that actually stick, and question the core beliefs that have been keeping you stuck, and find healthier ways to deal with that loneliness and that now what feeling. The best part is you don't have to do it alone. We'll have live group coaching sessions weekly, and there'll be a bunch of women walking through it with you. It's not another cookie cutter sobriety program for mommy vloggers. It's neuroscience meets real life, and it's designed for women to help you not just stay sober, but actually feel good living sober. You can join anytime, and I'd love to see you on the inside. So start today, get instant access. The link's in the show notes. Welcome to Rewired Sober, the podcast where we unpack what it really takes to rewire your brain after alcohol. Hi, I'm your host, Kate Vitella, a registered nurse, board certified in mental health and addiction, sober since 2018, and a coach who blends neuroscience, lived experience, and real talk to help women break the shame spiral and rebuild their thinking with tools like journaling, humor, and honest conversation. This isn't surface level sobriety. This is where the healing gets deep, grounded, and unapologetically honest. So let's get into it. Welcome back to Rewired Sober, the place where we tell the truth about alcohol without any Hallmark card slogans. And today I'm excited to talk about a book called Functional by Rachel Mack Martin. Rachel's a very smart girl. She is not sloppy or clueless and not uninformed. And yet she found herself struggling with alcohol. So that's why I want to dig into it. Because here's the thing. We've come to know being smart, being accomplished, being able to function, quote, certainly doesn't save us from alcohol's grip. So, well, in my argument, sometimes it makes it even worse because we use our high-functioning brain to justify that everything's fine. Well, it's not that bad. And high-functioning drinkers are often just high-functioning explainers sometimes. So I can't wait to get into this. And I want to introduce today's guest. As I said, it's Rachel Mack Martin. She is a director in financial services, holds an MBA, bringing an inclusive mind to everything she does, including writing. She lives in Minnesota with her husband and their 3 unpredictable cats. When not working or writing, you can find her drinking a strong cup of coffee, black coffee, my girl, with at least one feline on her lap. And Functional is her first book. So welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we were just realizing before we hit record, we go back to the TLC days. So we must have crossed paths in the Luckiest Club.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like TLC, so it's an alternative to AA. I know people are always trying to find, is there another recovery group that isn't AA based? I really love the Luckiest Club. It was started by Laura McGowan. She wrote the book, We Are the Luckiest. It just has tons of sobriety support meetings, all different kinds of subgroups. I'm personally in the one that is located in Minnesota. So we meet most of the time virtually online, but then we do get together in person.
Yeah, I think when I was about about 3 years sober, right after the world sort of opened back up again. The Northern California chapter and Pacific Northwest gals all met from the Luckiest Club, and they came to Seattle, and I did not know any of them. And I showed up there. I live in Olympia, Washington, so it's about an hour from Seattle. And I showed up at the hotel, and there were all these familiar faces I had seen on Zoom over the year or 2 we had been on lockdown, and it was one of the funnest weekends ever. So I highly recommend, if you meet people online in sobriety meetings and they come to your hometown or home state to make the effort. We had such a good time. Tammy Scott, who was, I believe she's still one of the meeting hosts of the Luckiest Club.
Yes, yeah.
She was there, and a bunch of gals from NorCal, and at the time we called her our fairy godmother because she was just this. I mean, she has close to 30 years by now of sobriety, just this amazing lady. I've been trying to get her on the pod, but anyway, so cool to finally have you on, and so to know we go back that far. We have been sober for about the same amount of time, because if you've been 7 years sober, I'm right there too.
Yeah, when's your date?
2/10/18.
Okay, and I'm 8/27/18. So you slightly more time than me, well, about 6 months, so that's incredible.
Isn't it so cool to know that somewhere in the world, right around the same time that you are hitting a bottom of whatever it is of your own world, right? Or coming to a conclusion that it's time to give up alcohol. Someone else is actually going through this exact same thing. I've met people that have close to the same exact day of sobriety as me. I mean, of course, there's people in the world with my same sober date, same as you. And it's just so cool to come together and talk about it, knowing that our worlds were colliding and conspiring, and the universe was conspiring in so many ways. And so,
Yeah.
will you share with the audience a little bit about your sober story, how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about it in the book, but for a long time, I really wasn't seeking to get sober. I was actually really just trying to figure out how to moderate. My life. So I wrote this book called Functional, and it's Functional High Performer's Guide to Achieving Freedom from Alcohol. But I was on the surface level functioning. I had a decent job. I did not have any DUIs. I was married. I had a house with hardwood floors. I had really cute pets. I didn't look like, I guess, what I thought a person who had a problem with alcohol did. I didn't look like the guy underneath the bridge with, the paper bag bottle, at all. Like, I just would go to work and come home and start pouring a glass of wine that never seemed to be enough. And so I was really searching for, how do I figure out moderation? Because I knew I was drinking way too much, and it just kept ramping up. And sometimes I'd moderate and it'd be successful. Sometimes I would not. But I decided to do a 30-day. So right now we're recording this. It's October 1st, and it's a great time for like sober October.
Yeah,
Is
yes.
something. And some people in the recovery community aren't a fan of like the 30-day breaks. I'm a huge fan of it because it would have just been too big for me to conceive, something more, but I decided to take a 30-day break, which is absolutely crazy, because I was a daily drinker and I could not remember getting past day 3. But I had this audacious goal. I'm like, "I'm just gonna commit for 1 month to do this. Maybe it won't help at all. Maybe, whatever. I'll just commit to this 30 days." And so that's basically what I did. I started early. So my sobriety date is August 27th. And I was really worried because I was drinking about 2 bottles of wine a night that I might need to like detox. So I thought, maybe if I start a little bit early, I can actually stick to the month, like a sober September essentially. But, that was my goal, and, I really didn't know, before we started recording, you had mentioned, This Naked Mind, which is a book by Annie Grace, and that was one of the books I was reading during this time as well, and so that was kind of influencing me. I reference it as a reference actually in the book because I think it's quite good. But yeah, I was just really trying to figure it out, and I thought I'd just take a 30-day.
Yeah, I love that, and I think for many people, actually, having a sizable goal in front of you that isn't overwhelming can be helpful. I have friends that did a dry July or sober October, something like that, and it catapulted them into, "Okay, 1 more month," to so that it made, the pot of gold at the rainbow end of the rainbow not seem so far away. But I'd like to get into why you wrote the book and even maybe some of the influences Annie Grace had on your book, because when I was looking through aspects of your book, I was thinking about the title "Functional," and I was thinking about her book coming out as kind of a trailblazer in dismantling a lot of our cultural beliefs around alcohol.
Yeah.
And certainly coming at it, she's a marketing executive, and so she's had a totally different perspective in terms of, this is the way alcohol is being packaged to you, and this is the way that it's actually working, and so I don't want I'm going on a tangent about Annie Grace, which this is not about her, this is about you and your book, and I wanna know, like, from its inception, like, what was your inspiration and how did you get here in terms of putting a book together?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you know, so I wrote the book that I wanted to read when I got sober.
Yes.
And I really loved Annie Grace's book, but, there's a lot of books out there that are really about, rock bottoms or, like, lost their kid, um, several DUIs, that type of thing, and that just really wasn't my story, but I definitely had a problem. And sometimes, so the book is really, the title is Functional, and it's really about functional alcoholism. And it's part memoir, it's part self help. But really, in the first part of the book, I talk about like my background, how I got here. I did do moderation management. I talk about that. But then the next part of the book is really like tips and tricks of what I would recommend for people who have a problem and they're looking for solutions. And, similar to the Annie Grace book, I definitely recommend sobriety. Like, I'm sober, but I really just try to get people in the book to do things like create a plan. I talk about things like I didn't necessarily know about, like, what do I tell people? Like, what do I tell the people when I'm doing this? Like, do I tell them I'm taking a break? What if they ask, if I'm why I'm not drinking? Like, what is my elevator pitch here? So I talk about things like that. I talk about like how to be successful with it. Like, one of the things, I did do is I didn't have any alcohol in the house, and, that for me was pretty big because it's like you come home, you've worked all day, your defenses are down, and then you have alcohol in the house. And I did have a supportive, husband. He actually, is very supportive, and he likes me being sober. But I also talk about relationships too, because I think that's a challenging thing. And some people have spouses who drink with them, or maybe they're not a spouse, they're a best friend or significant other. And I talk a little bit about how to navigate those relationships as well.
So when you talk about the title being functional and even highly functional, a successful person, very educated, you know, what was the hidden cost of functioning? I mean, did it take you longer to realize you had a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. It really did. And I got the title or the concept for the book is there's this classification done, I want to say 10 years ago about different subtypes of alcoholics. And I don't love the word alcoholic. I like to say I'm alcohol free, but for purposes of the book and the classifications that were done scientifically, they categorize people in different categories. And some were like, so functional obviously is one of them, but some were like the young, familiar, like people who have a family history of alcoholism and that type of thing. And really, with me, I think I kept drinking for longer than I needed to drink because I wasn't getting, like, the consequences that we think about. Like, I wasn't losing a job, I still had a relationship, although, I did have, a conversation with my husband where he was basically threatening divorce if I didn't stop drinking. But it wasn't really like I didn't have these outward things that would really state, "Hey, you've lost your job," or "You got a DUI," that would really state, "Absolutely, you have to quit drinking." So it was really confusing to me. And the funny thing is now that I've, like, been in this world of being alcohol free, etcetera, and I've, like, read all the books and, I know a lot more about addiction and alcohol, um, but I really didn't know much then. And I kinda consider it, really surprising and almost shocking, like, because it's really well read. I'm now a director in financial services. I've been in that field for 26 years. I have an MBA. Like, I felt like I was smart and I should know these things, but it really wasn't until I stopped drinking and really started, doing more research, like reading Annie Grace's This Naked Mind, where I really discovered um, alcohol's a drug. We don't really treat it that way. It's a highly addictive drug. I didn't understand that all my patterns of like, I didn't understand how I could be this successful person, doing well in my job. My husband and I did renovations on our houses. Um, I could do these different things where I could be successful, but I just was like failing miserably at not drinking.
It's so interesting. I hear this from so many people. It's baffling how we can be so high functioning in certain areas of our life and yet have this other secret or this habit that we can't seem to control. And the term consequences, when people throw that word around, it's always surprising to me. In fact, my last guest, we talked about this. A lot of people will say, "Well, I didn't have a rock bottom. I didn't have any consequences, except my husband
Yeah.
threatened divorce."
Yeah.
And so I
True.
always like I sorry, I have to go back to that. And I'm like, I
It's true.
mean, the term rock bottom, I'm kind of tired of it, truthfully, because I feel like it's a really relative. I mean, what does that mean to you? I mean, I think for
Yes.
many people, if their husband threatened a divorce, that would be like, okay, that's my rock bottom. Now, find out
Yeah.
how much you like your husband.
For me, I didn't have rock bottom, but I had convincers. And the
Okay.
convincers kept stacking up, and I talk about them in the book. And the thing about it is so I had this stupid night. I went out with like a girlfriend on a weeknight. And, my husband and I both hardworking, we go to work.
Yeah.
But I went out on a weeknight and came back really late and probably shouldn't have driven. And my husband said to me, "Rachel, if you get whiskey plates on our vehicle, I'm leaving you." And so, some states like the state of Minnesota, if you they still have it, but, if you get a couple DUIs, you can get a W on your license plate, and police can pull you over because, you've had a DWI. And when that happens, also, they don't just put it on your car, they put it on every car in the household because that's the insurance.
Oh, wow. That's
And
certainly not the case here in Washington State, but talk
yeah,
about branding you.
yeah. So my husband's saying that to me, in my mind, in my state, of course, it was a terrible thing to say, and but I mean, right, I deserved it. Um, but I'll tell you, my mind heard, "Rachel, you need to take an Uber next time." That was really, that was kind of what I was thinking, and I didn't stop immediately, but I ended up stopping a couple weeks after that point. But I really started adding up all these different things that, like, if you took them independently, they might just be a situation. Like, "Oh, hey, I just drank too much out with girlfriends. It's not gonna happen again. I'll take an Uber." Right? But if you start stacking all these convincing things that happen to you, you're like, "Oh, wait, I might actually have a problem."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how did being intellectual, intelligent, educated, how did that sort of become its own? Was that like a denial strategy for you because you were this on one hand, you couldn't possibly be this?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely was, and I even, like, I went to an AA meeting probably about day 14, and I was going there to just, like, disqualify myself from these people.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm probably not one of them, but I thought I'll just do, I'm doing this month of research where I'm not drinking, and I'll just kind of check a box, and I'll just like go to a meeting and see what it's about. And unfortunately, my first meeting felt like home. I thought that a lot of people in the room um were like similar to my story. There's definitely some people in, AA groups that had, way worse stories than me, but I could hear my story there. And someone also told me, because I talked even like on my very first meeting, I was like, I haven't gotten a DUI. I haven't lost my home. And someone said to me, "You haven't got a DUI yet. You haven't lost your home yet. You haven't lost your relationship yet."
The yet.
Yeah, and so then, I think just like we know with addiction, we know with alcohol that it's progressive,
Yeah.
and I could see that basically, develop this drinking problem around, 2007, 2008, stressful job, just stressful things going on in my life, and I would come home, and I would, like, pour myself a glass of wine. And one glass turned to 2 glass, turned to 3, turned to 4, to pretty much towards the end, I was at 2 bottles a night. And so, yeah, that's how it escalated.
Yeah, I remember feeling like, well, I'm a nurse. And even though in terms of, the educational hierarchy, I have a 4-year degree. I don't have a master's level degree, but it was the nurse title that held
Yeah,
me back in thinking, I can't be one of these people when
right,
I'm one of these other people. I mean, I couldn't be a
yeah,
nurse and also be a drunk.
right.
Yeah,
Because
so that
right?
yeah.
You've seen the, people in the emergency room, and you're
Yeah.
not one of those people.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was supposed at least I was supposed to know, we hope that our nurses know, but
yeah,
I know that the belief of I was too smart held me back for a long time, and some people will say, like, "Were you too smart for AA?" And I don't know if this is an okay question to ask or put you on the spot here, but you said that you heard parts of your story in AA, but something about it didn't resonate for you, and ultimately you ended up finding the Luckiest Club, which that
yeah.
sort of same thing happened to me.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I still my primary mode of recovery is more the Luckiest Club. Occasionally I will go to AA meetings. I did have two great AA sponsors. Um, and I do talk about in the book, like, some things with AA, just didn't resonate with me totally.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have an issue so much with the God thing, which I know some people, don't like that. Um, I I felt, that sometimes AA can be shaming, and for women especially, like, we have enough shame
Yeah.
in our life, and, I just don't know. Like, I occasionally, I will go to an AA meeting. I think what has saved my ass a few times is if I've had to travel for work or vacation, I went to an AA meeting that's available, and, if, like, I'm traveling, especially, like, traveling, right? You're thinking, like, "Hey, there's a bar in the airport. There's a
Yeah.
bar across the street. I'm on vacation, like, I should be drinking." But I've been to, AA meetings where people are really, really welcoming to me. And so I have a whole chapter on AA. I talk about the pros and cons, but ultimately, I think people should find their own recovery method, whether it's AA or something else. The awesome thing is, even since, like, I got sober, there's so many options out there. There's so many, like, beautiful ways to recover. There's different types of groups. There's groups for women, men, trans, BIPOC. I mean, there's so many different, Buddhist recovery, smart recovery. It's
Yeah. We have
awesome.
to meet people where they are. So I
Yeah,
love that all that is available.
yeah,
When you say that you wrote a book because you wish you had this book, which I love. So many of us start
yeah,
things we wish we had, right? That's the reason I
yes,
started my coaching business and even the group coaching container that I'm leading now with women. Again, you said something, women have enough shame. I wanted a special place for women in my Rewired Sober group. But what was it about the book specifically, or maybe you can share some tips and tricks you share with the audience that you needed that you weren't able to find somewhere else?
yeah. I think I will say with my book, I have everything that I've learned in 7 years sobriety. Um, and I can be obsessive with topics, and I actually found the book not difficult to write. And even though it's not necessarily my profession, I do read a lot, but I didn't find it difficult to write because there are, like, a lot of tips and things that I could offer that I felt would be useful to people. Um, I do recommend the 30-day. I think it's great for people to just take a break and check in with yourself. I will tell you, before I got sober, I was really struggling with sleep. I was
Yeah.
basically begging my doctor for sleep aids. And they were just like, "Well, you're a woman of a certain age. You're just going to have problems with sleeping." No, it was the alcohol, which is really
Mhm.
messing with my sleep. So, about day 7 into my 30 days, I started sleeping like I had not slept in years. I within the first couple months, I dropped weight, like, effortlessly. Like, ended up dropping 16 pounds. And I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, I've been doing all the things, and, nothing was working, but I gave up alcohol. My relationship improved with my husband. I even started doing better at work, even though I've always done well at work. Um, just, got back confidence. And I was honestly really, really surprised about the benefits after 30 days. And because of that, I just kept going. Like, it just made sense to just, keep going. Like, why would I want to backpedal and go back to, like, questioning myself and my integrity? Why would I want to, go back to terrible sleep? It just, I needed more time. Like, I'm glad I just kept going, and I didn't make this hard commitment like I'm gonna be sober for the rest of my life, but Pretty much after 90 days, I knew I would continue on for the year, and at a year, I'm like, "I just don't think I'm ever gonna go back." Like, life is just too great without it. So I recommend the 30 days. I recommend things like I said, getting it out of your house is a big one. I recommend, figuring out what your real issue is. So for some people, they stop drinking and they realize that, or they are diagnosed having ADHD, right? Or they stop drinking and they realize this very traumatic thing that happened to me in the past is the reason why I was drinking. So I think those are also, good questions. But I want to say about 15, 16 different recommendations that you can put forth for a plan.
Yeah. And did you go to the Luckiest Club online every day in the beginning? I mean, how did you stay sober in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning, so the Luckiest Club didn't exist. But I did AA. I also did Recovery Elevator, which is another great group I recommend. They have a really powerful podcast. Um,
Yeah.
so I have like a list of, like I said in the back of my book, I have a list of resources, basically books, podcasts, support groups, sober Instagram people to follow, those type of things. But yeah, Recovery Elevator was great. I belonged to that group. And I kind of thought between um, reading all the Quit Lit and listening to different podcasts like Recovery Elevator and then being part of that group in AA, I just started really surrounding myself with
Yeah.
like good influence.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell clients that too, like some kind of sobriety input every single day, like surround yourself with information and people and keep it flowing in your ears in the beginning because it's super helpful when you're really trying to make a big change like that.
Yeah, they talk about how basically the five people in your life are going to influence you, have significant influence in your life. Well, my people, not necessarily my husband, but all my friends, my friend group was literally called the winos. That's what we called ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you're with the winos, you may have a drinking problem. And so I ended up, surrounding myself more with people in recovery who had longer time than me.
How did you break off from the winos? Because that's a common thing I hear too. I mean, these are what if
Yeah,
it's
I
your
didn't
lifelong friends?
Yeah, I didn't at first. And honestly, they were really great people to me too originally because at first, like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I was going to stick with this. I was just going to do this 30 days and then the 30 days kind of kept going. Um, but yeah, I it was gradual for me, and I'll tell you, it was kind of miserable in the sense that I was trying to keep up with them and still be friends, but it started to be like we just didn't have as much in common. Like if you talk to someone after 2 drinks and you're sober, you're on a completely different vibe
Oh,
and
for sure. Yeah.
way
It's like they're
like
speaking a different language.
yeah. Or, people who drink a lot more too, it's like the words start to slur
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and what I really realized too is aspirationally, I was starting because I had started or I'd stopped drinking. I was going up here, like in terms of transformation.
Yes.
I'm making this, I'm making the signal, but I was,
You were
I was
rising.
Yeah, I was, meeting goals, um, ambitious. I felt like so much more confidence than when I was drinking. And so we just started to not have as much in common, but it took me time to really realize that and kind of some pain because
Yeah.
I was still sticking around because these were my friends. But then I really as I interacted and met more people who either didn't drink or really drinking really wasn't the focus of everything, then, I could find new friends and make more of a life change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so how it is. It is a little painful letting go of our old friend groups, but some of it happens organically as we realize that we don't have as much in common and the conversation isn't that great after they've had a few drinks. But yeah, there's that real grieving of letting go of our old friend groups and people, places, and things. There's a true grieving there, and we have to
Yeah.
space for that.
What did you have to give up?
A
Did you have
lot
to
of
shut
things,
friends?
all the things, right? There
Mhm.
were the old nurse friends that were heavy drinkers. There were the bars I frequented. There were family dynamics. There were family gatherings, certain relationships in my family where we were the drinkers together, and there was a lot of giving up, and then there's a lot of rebuilding of new. That's why I got so into fashion and something else creative to do that was a shift for me, and I got really involved with the sober community and began, I joined the sober curator team and began creating a blog, and I got into sober social media, and so much of my life changed, but it really had to. But there was a grieving there. Geez, that yes, I mean,
Yeah.
to just say, "Oh, I just gave up my old life." I mean, no, I mean, there it was a slow burn over the years, and some of it really kind of broke my heart.
Mhm. Yep, same.
But it was absolutely worth it. It was the best decision I've ever made. And when
Same.
you when you when you move out of that wino group, you make room for these incredible people to come into your life. I mean, the friends I have now, I would never have known had I not gotten sober.
Mhm.
And the places I go and the version of me, absolutely, it's so much better than I could have imagined it would be for myself.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's way better than I ever imagined, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it too with the book, because you kind of have this thing going into it where there is lots of shame because you know that you're drinking too much,
Yeah,
and, once you kinda sit down and you're like, "Well, this was an addictive drug," and you stop doing that, and you really start living, like, a life more with integrity and, like, more purpose driven,
mhm,
um, I think it just opens your eyes to just how great, being alcohol free can be.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I tend to hang out more on Instagram, so I'm Rachel Mack Martin. I'll tell you quickly too, Mac and Martin are the name of my cats, and they are the first animals I've had since I've been sober. They happen to
Oh,
be both boys, but they're kind of my little family, so I thought it was appropriate. Authors always have pen names, and so Rachel Mack Martin is my pen name, but I'm on Instagram. You can find my book on Amazon. It's in paperback Kindle, and I do have an Audible version as well. Not everyone does, but I love listening to Audible, and I listen to a lot of books that way, and so it's also on Audible.
oh, and do you narrate it?
So I did not narrate it. I actually hired a narrator. Her name is Megan Owens. She has read a few books on opiate use.
Mhm.
But her and I sound similar. She actually so I you can search on Audible for narrators that you could potentially hire, and she has, like, a Midwestern accent. She was a school principal, and, yeah, so far, the people who have purchased it, listened to it, really like her voice.
Oh, awesome. Well,
Yeah, she
great.
has better
Thank you.
sound equipment than me,
Yeah, yeah.
so I went with the professional, but she reads it excellently. I'm delighted with how she reads it.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I hope you check the book out. I'm so glad that you put your workout into the world, and it's just one more resource for people on this journey. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me about it. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired Sober. You can find me on my Instagram at Rewired Sober, where there are links to catch up with me and all the things I'm working on in my coaching business, or the link tree to my business directly will be in the show notes. I so appreciate you joining me on this journey, and I welcome any feedback or any topics you want to hear about, things that you're struggling with or interested in. I love you all so very much, and I'm just so enjoying doing this with you.